building digital economy that is embracing emerging technologies. These are the things that we have to make sure that we work on to increase the number, because the statistics are not that good. There are a number of reports, like a science report of 2022, it has shown that the venture capitalists, or venture capital that flow to women-led enterprises is just 2.3%. This is a very small number. And in this conference, we need to discuss about this to ensure that we increase the number very much. And the most threatening thing is those who are making decisions in venture capital, they are men. So this has to change a little bit. Decision makers in Europe in the area of venture capital, they are only 13% are women. And if you look at the CEOs and the chief technical officers, the number is still slow, it's still small. So when we say that we are building digital economy, these statistics, surely they need to change. Other statistics, according to report of Venture Capital for Africa, it shows 9% of African tech startups were led by women. McKinsey in 2016, of course, it's an old statistic, but that's a statistic which is there. It says that women occupied all 1/3 of leadership position in Africa. So I'm giving these statistics to show that, yes, we are talking about digital economy, but there are fundamental things which need to change. If we are just talking in a macro level and not changing these fundamental things, we are not going to achieve the transformation that we want. And of course, what we fear now is everyone who is going to be left behind now is going to be, the effect is going to be bigger than the way we start transformation in 2000. This one shows where the patent that has to do with AI and quantum patent. It shows many countries. Of course, US and China, they are the leader. But the main point here is the fundamentals. We can have a lot of patents in those countries, but if you look at the fundamental and see who are owning those patents, you'll find that women are not well represented. And we need to change this. So now, what is this beast that we call digital economy? It has a number of things. It has enabling technologies. There are technologies which are enabling the digital economy, which AI, the cybersecurity, robotics, and things like that, which we are going to hear about them in this conference very well. There's a key enabler, which one need to have digital skills. There must be a variable of data. Digital infrastructure has to be there, and the strategy and regulation that will enable the digital economy to thrive well. The trends that are leading to this are many. Many of the business now, they go digital. So we need to ensure that we include everyone into this. And the new business model that we have, things of like fintechs, the e-commerce, the ride-hailing, and other technologies over there. So all of these things together is what we call, or we consider as digital economy. So now if we look at the fundamental that I presented them before, it really shows that we need to really work in the area of women being able to get capital, because 2.3 is just a small number. We need to work in the area of science and computing to make sure that, because if one doesn't have that, it will be very difficult for one to participate in the digital economy. Now, there are stages of digital economy that we can assess in the world, and there are 3 cycles that you can see there. If you look at our economy, you'll find that in the inner cycle is where we have done very well, and actually we are transiting to the middle cycle, where we have invested in hardware, we have a number of softwares, telecommunication services, they are not bad, but we need to go to level number 2. And level number 2 is where systems are supposed to work together and to ensure that everyone who is using digital economy or participate in digital economy has a digital ID number that can identify the person. So two things, interoperability and the digital identity number. They are very crucial in the middle cycle. Once we graduate from there, it's where we can enjoy Industry 4, the AI, the precision agriculture, the algorithm economy, and things like that. So these things are supposed to be considered. And when we design intervention in all these cycles, we have to consider the dimension of inclusiveness to ensure that women and also youth, when we design intervention, we consider them into that. Now, let me show the size of a digital economy, right? From the regional perspective, we have the market of East African community that has that number of people, because digital economy grows or is robust where you have numbers, where you have population. So it's 174 million. The size of the GDP, the collective size is 163.4. These are statistics of last year. The SADC area, which we are the member, is 344 million people, and the GDP is 720. The COMESA area is 768 billion people. There are a number of countries over there. The biggest market in Africa that we are building now is African continental free trade areas of 1.3 billion people and the collective GDP of 1.4 trillion. Why I'm giving these statistics? I'm giving these statistics because when we talk about digital economy, which doesn't have boundaries, our business model or our business plan has to target and conquer these numbers, right? And women, they're supposed to be in the forefront in all those strategies. If we want to build, for example, startups, we have to ensure that we have enough number of women who are participating on that, and they can take advantage of all these markets. Now, when we talk about digital transformation, basically, we talk about three processes. And process number one, you talk about digitization. Digitization is you convert your data to digital format, and you convert your processes and creating software. This one, we have done it very well. Step number two is digitalization. Digitalization is make sure that your systems are becoming as facilitators, your system are talking to each other. Every single individual is having digital identity numbers, and those are enabling them to work hard. So this is the stage where we are now, and we need to work really hard to ensure that all our systems, they can talk together, and all users of our digital economy, they have single ID number that identify them. The current moment is, we find single user have many numbers that identify them online, which make us not enjoy all the services which are provided in the education sector, in the health sector, in the society, and other things. So the last part is digital transformation. In the digital transformation, you look at number of few technologies. If one has not reached that level, it's difficult to enjoy AI, for instance, because AI needs some fundamental infrastructure which is available in a country. You need to make sure that you convert your processes to digital format. You have to ensure that all your systems are working together. You need to have your data. You need to have your computation, and also experts who can create algorithms to solve the problem. So digital transformation is stage number 3. And we need to really work hard to ensure that our economy is reaching that level, and reaching that level while we include everyone. And women are not supposed to be left behind. So the digital transformation in the context of a nation is to ensure that we have a strategy that enables us to move into all those three stages. And those 3 stages, they have to have the dimension of inclusiveness to make sure that we include everyone into that. Now, there are ways on how you can measure digital transformation. And when I look at this index, I borrow it from Huawei. They have an index where they look at nations and how they've transformed themselves. So stage number 1, which is the bottom line, is the starters. The stage number 2 is adopters, and stage number 3 is frontrunners. So you'll find that in the step number 1, we have done very well as a country. Step number 2, there's some aspect of the things which we have done fine, but there's a specific things which says, when you are in stage number 3 or number 2, ICT should be contributing more in the national GDP. So if you look at that as a yardstick, you'll find that for a long time, ICT has been contributing 1.5. So stage number 3 is a total transformation where you find the country enjoys 5G, is enjoy big data, AI, and Internet of Things. For this to be work, we need to aim to go to be as a frontliner. And the work has to be done into that aspect. There are a lot of things that we do in stage number 2, which is adopters, but we need to look at how we contribute, or our sector can contribute to our digital economy. Now, sectoral share of GDP of Tanzania, of course, this is a statistic that I have of 2 years ago. ICT, which is measured as communication, always is contributing 1.5. Of course, I believe that we are wrongly measured, but that's how things are. So when we'll be in stage number 2, we need to see it jumps from 1.5 and it goes to percentage that we deserve to be contributing. Key metrics of Tanzania that you can use to measure penetration of 3G coverage or above. So in 3G, standing at 66%. Tax to GDP ratio is 12%. Contribution of city national GDP is 1.5. Mobile connectivity is 78%. Rural population is 65. So 65 need to be urban statistics, and then we'll be doing fine. The mobile broadband connectivity is 31%. Population is 61. These statistics, they say a lot about our intervention to ensure that we include everyone in the interventions of digital economy. We can build digital economy when amount of people who are living in urban areas are more. From the current situation, in urban it's 35%, so we need to ensure that more people, they come to our urban. The penetration of broadband has to increase from the 31% to be a slightly bigger number, because most of the interesting applications of digital economy, they require broadband connectivity. And to increase the tax to GDP ratio from 12, for instance, to, let's say, reaching 24, ICT has to play its role in revenue collections and to increase the size or the place where you can correct the taxation. We need to move from 3G to 4G, and if possible, it's 5G. Of course, we have launched 5G already, but the penetration of it has to increase more than that. Now, let's look at the contribution of ICT in number of countries in the world. If you look at the United States, is 10% of their GDP, which is equivalent to 2.1 trillion US dollars. So it's almost 1/3 of the total GDP of Africa, coming from only ICT. Of course, their market is bigger. In Great Britain is 148 billion pounds, and is contributing almost to 7.7%. And South Korea is contributing 10.8%. So our 1.5 should go up. And I think once we are measured properly, maybe we're going to reach 6 or 7, but contribution has to come from all strata of our society. So we need to make sure that everyone is involved into that. Now, when it comes to digital transformation, what is supposed to be done? What is supposed to be done is to digitize core business. So female-led startups, they need to ensure that their core processes are digitized. There must be an infrastructure indiscriminately built to ensure that women are connected to. to ensure that we build or strengthen digital society and governance, a robust digital economy, and to improve access and usage of digital services and the technology. The last point is very key because the digital economy of today needs smartphones, and we need to have strategies or to have business people who can innovate and ensure that the smartphone will become affordable, or people they can get smartphone by loan and things like that. That small device is a key to digital economy that we'll build of today. Now, there are 5 pillars when one is talking about digital transformation, like the way I said before. So pillar number 1, when we want to make sure that women are participating in digital economy, we need to ensure that digital skills is available everywhere. And when you talk about digital skills, we normally look at 3 layers. There's a basic skills of digital, there's a intermediate skills, and the advanced skills. So we need to ensure that we work on that area to ensure that all women are included in this digital economy. And when we talk about that, we talk about e-services, innovative services, digital skills in digital services and systems. So people need to have skills on how to use systems, to design systems, and also to use e-services in their daily life. Another pillar is the pillar of digital security and trust. Women should trust first the digital space, and the digital space has to be secure for them to be able to build their business, to be able to use the systems and things like that. And when we talk about that, we need to build security capability for women. We have to work to ensure that electronic identity and trust services are used, and the issue of consumer protection, which is very clear for women, has to be there. The issues of data protection, I can see the Director General of Data Protection Authority is in here, and to protect users from harmful content. Harmful content, they can make one hate online platforms, and at the same time, one may not participate in the digital economy. Other pillar is telecommunication services. So to ensure that telecommunication services they can reach all people indiscriminately. So women has to be considered in that aspect. Then there is what we are looking at there is the issue of interoperability bus to ensure that the services, they can talk to each other, deployment of IP version 6, and promoting digital communication networks in that respect. Then there's the digital economy itself as a pillar, which is supposed to be looked at the administration transformation. And this is looking at all those services that they touch anybody when they are designing, when they are provided, to ensure that we look at the dimension of inclusiveness so that anyone can be able to use, for example, data, which are most of the time residing in the government, for their own innovation. That's why we're promoting things like regulatory sandbox that allow people to test their products in the data which is residing in the government. So in digital economy and the decision transformation, we look at service platforms, finance and taxation, machine translation and language technologies, open public administration, where people will be able to use the data that are residing in the government to innovate and to create systems that will enable them to, make their business. Support public administration technologies, promoting digitization of business, digitization process and revenue collections. Then there's a dimension of innovation, which is very important in the digital economy of today, because if one is not innovating in digital economy, it will be very difficult for one to survive for a long time. So this is a crucial part to ensure that women are given skills and they are empowered and enabled to be able to do innovation to commercialize their services and products. And in this respect, we are looking at promoting human resource development and establishing the regulatory sandboxes. These are very crucial, and the regulators have to look at the dimension of inclusiveness to ensure that women who are innovating their products, they are able to access data, and those data will enable to build their product so well. Now, there's these statistics that have shown on how things are. For example, when it comes to companies that are using AI, machine learning, and deep learning in Africa, Tanzania is there in the picture, but I'm very sure that if you look at those companies that are using, you might find that there's a gender gap over there. So I've tried to show that AI is used in Africa, and it's used in many countries. And from this conference, you'll see that there are a number of startups already existing, like the Kitonga AI and other people who are going to present in here, that are using AI to innovate and provide products which are very useful to many people. I've put this slide to encourage you that it's easy to use AI to innovate and creating products which are useful and which will enable you to build your company. Then I'm always interested with agri-tech, because if you look at the statistics, most of Tanzanians, they're employed in this sector. And in agri-tech space, Tanzania is there. It's very crowded. There are a lot of companies. There are rooms for innovation, and women, I think, if they take advantage, they are going to gain a competitive advantage more in this area. Because in the world now, we know there are two challenges only. There's a challenge of food security and challenge of cybersecurity. So this is very crucial. This shows that these things can be done. I'm encouraging women to ensure that they innovate and participate in agriculture, because our population is growing, and because our population grows, people need to eat, and also our neighbors are depending on us as food basket of this region. So there are a lot of things that can be done in that area to innovate and ensure that we build a lot of companies in this area. Thank you very much.
Yes, very good. Another round of applause for Dr. Mwasaga. That was not only a very, very insightful presentation, but also an education to some of us, especially those who are not in the ICT sector like myself, though I work in the sector for the past 20-something years. Next now, we are now going for our first panel discussion. As we know, Dr. Mwasaga's presentation was supposed to be a catalyst or to pave way for the upcoming panel discussion. The first panel discussion will be on unleashing imaging technologies in the digital transformation for job creation and socioeconomic development. May I invite the moderator of this session, my dear sister and able sister Lillian Madeje, to call her panelists and introduce them. Glad to have you here. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Habari za asubuhi. Kama nilivyotambulishwa, jina langu ni Lillian Sechelela Madeje, ni mwanzilishi wa kampuni inaitwa Niajiri Platform. Na sisi tuko kwenye, I think one of the points that Dr. Nkundo spoke about is how to use human resources. So we are actually in the cross-section of using technology for human capital development. We upskill entry-level talent to enter the marketplace, but at the same time, we provide a technology tool for employers to access top talent. Kwa siku hii ya leo, I will be using English, but I will be mixing between the two languages just in conversation. I have the pleasure of moderating a panel titled Unleashing Emerging Technologies in the Digital Transformation for Job Creation and Socioeconomic Development. So just to set the stage, I was like, what does this actually mean? It's a big word. Lakini, what does it mean to break it down? So I decided to use artificial intelligence, aka Akili Bandia, to try and demystify what this word says. So I gave it a prompt to say what is this particular topic and explain it to a 7-year-old. So this is what Chat GPT came back with me. So it says to explain the concept of unleashing emerging technologies in the digital transformation for job creation and socioeconomic development to a 7-year-old, you might say. Okay, imagine you have some amazing new toy and gadgets that can do really cool things, like super fast robots, magic computers, and talking cars. Now, grown-ups and very smart people use these special things to make our world better. They use them to create new jobs, like people who fix and control these magic creatures or machines. They also use them to make our lives better, like making sure we have good schools, hospitals, and lots of yummy good food. So when we talk about unleashing emerging technologies, it means taking these cool gadgets and toys to do helpful things for everyone, like creating more jobs and making sure we all have a good life with great schools, hospitals, and tasty food. It's like making our world even more amazing with the help of these fantastic tools. So in describing or having an in-depth discussion about this, I would like to call onto the stage amazing group of ladies, some that I've been had the pleasure of knowing for a couple of years in this space of ICT development and startups, and some that I get to interact with today. Please, hand of applause to the stage. I'd like to call Carol Ndosi, founder of Launchpad. Just have a seat. Next to that, Dr. Lilian Mutalemwa from the Open University of Tanzania. On my panel, I also have Esther Mengi, the CEO of Serensic Africa. And last but not least is Juanita Mrengo from NMB. And all right, Juanita Mrengo for NMB. Okay. All right, so trying to figure out if I'm about to sit down with y'all. I think I'm too many chairs. Let me come and have a feeling. All right, Asante. So maybe to start us off, it's going to be a quick 1-minute introduction, whereby you're going to tell us who you are, and then I would like to get your, I've used artificial intelligence to tell me what this means, so I want your observation of what this topic means to you. What does unleashing emerging technologies in this space mean to you? So a little bit your name, what you do, and how you do aligns with the particular topic. Karibu Esther.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. So my name is Mrs. Esther Mengi. I'm the CEO for Serensic Africa. By profession, I'm a cybersecurity expert. So it's quite an honor being here. I remember 7 years ago, it was the first annual TAIC. I was on this very same stage, and I'm so happy being here again 7 years later. So this is to show that there are startups that start in tech and continue in tech. So I'm happy to come in front of you and be an inspiration to the young ones that I'm seeing over there, and to others like me or even more experienced than me. So thank you so much.
Doctor?
Good morning. Good morning. Very nice to see you all here, especially the young girls, students. I see a lot of you here, so this is very good. Making sure that you come here and participate and you hear the good things about this conference is really exciting. I always get very excited when I see girls getting involved with engineering and ICT things. So, big up. Yes, so this is Dr. Lilian Mutalemwa from the Open University of Tanzania, and I am an engineer, and I am focusing at the university right now. I am the coordinator at the unit where we use ICT, but specifically for people with disabilities. So we have blind people, we have deaf people who are using ICT just like those who can see. Yes, and I think this goes very well with the topic we are going to discuss here. And I hope that we will be hearing nice things and the girls will participate. Make sure you ask a question, girls. If you leave here without asking a question, then I want to see hands up asking questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Jamani, tupo kweli? Tupo? Tupo? Mimi kusema za kweli sijazoea this kind of energy. And I was trying to tell Lillian, I'm like, oh my God, this energy is just, na tumekunywa chai. Jamani, wanawake? Wanawake? Much, much better. My name is Carol Ndosi. I am the founder and executive director of the Launchpad Tanzania. We are a not-for-profit organization that started in 2018 with a focus first primarily just on contributing to education reforms, but as well as skills development and bridging the gap between youth and employment opportunities as well as job creation. But in 2019, I think 2018 to 2019, we evolved as an organization and started our arm specifically dedicated to digitalization called LP Digital, which has been making a lot of noise for the past 3 years, if I may say so myself. But it's also very, very, very great to be back on this very stage because in March, we held the very first Women in Tanzania Technology Conference. So this is like a repeat of that, especially for seeing, some of the sheroes that I have featured in a 100 Tanzania Sheroes book. Esther is one of them, as well as Lillian from 2018, I think. So it's a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to the discussion and sharing insights from the programs that we run as an organization. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe Carol, starting us off, you started with holding the first Women in Tech conference. You have been working within the space of technology and with LP Digital. I know there's a couple of cohorts that you're doing specifically for women,
yeah.
And you are within the space of Women in Tech Forum, etc. What, from your perspective, what are some of the unique opportunities or challenges have you actually come across when you look at women in tech industry in Tanzania? And maybe so can you share with us some of your insights and then pulling it back to the discussion, how emerging technologies, AI, machine learning, blockchain can actually help empower more women in tech in Tanzania?
Right. Thank you so much. So I think I'll start from the experience that we had, because as an organization, we're also part of this regional network called Women at Web. And it started in 2017, supported by DW Academy and BMZ. And at first, when we got involved as an organization, the primary focus was safe online spaces for women, because it was identified through their research that it was one of the areas that was not really being addressed, at least not, to its magnitude. So we focus a lot on safe online spaces, so capacity building on digital resilience for women, but also, reeling in the journalist and the media sector as well to really speak about and amplify whatever that is going on online spaces. But we realized as an organization that we cannot be speaking about safe online spaces without talking about, one, the opportunities that exist on online spaces, but secondly, how do we get women on board? So women's digital inclusion became another one of our primary focus, and that's why we actually evolved to LP Digital. Now, before going into the opportunities, because we do have quite a number of them, drawing from the programs that we're running right now, I'll speak on the challenges, and this is from some of the recommendations that we received on this very stage when we did the Women in Tech conference in March. Right now, when you look at the ecosystem, and we were having this discussion, just before we came on stage, when you look at the representation of women, it's quite, I don't even know what the word to use, but to me it's discouraging. And I remember sharing with Dr. Nkundwe that we actually have a database of 160-something women who have registered to a database, but women in ICT professions. However, when we do share any opportunities to this database, the ones who actually show up are possibly a quarter of that, database. So personally, I feel, and of course this is coming from a woman as well, the first challenge that we have seen and observed as an organization, but also as an individual, is the readiness and mindset of women, first to get into, the tech industry, tech sector, to embrace the opportunities, but even when they do get there, to amplify their stories. So I'm really, honored to share the stage with, this kind of women that actually speak, they talk about their journey, they share their experiences, and in turn now inspire the younger generation to take part. The other challenge that I would speak about would be the opportunities and basically the environment that exists. And I'm glad to see UNDP here, Fungua program, because I know it's one of their focus areas, supporting women entrepreneurs in the tech industry. However, there is not enough funding. We currently run a SheTech incubator because one of the other recommendations that we received through the conference was there aren't enough women innovators designing digital products specifically for women. And if you look at the digital products that exist right now and their mobile apps, and the adoption rate is quite low. So we also did a study to show through the incubation program, like what kind of apps exist that are specifically targeting women, and what is their uptake, what is the user journey, and what are women doing, women innovators doing to improve that space. So I would say that the other challenge is actually creating spaces, sandbox spaces that women can actually innovate, try and fail until they get it, right. Lastly, because I'm conscious of time, the other challenge is the funding. And I realize that the other panel, or the coming panel, will speak about this, but it's quite discouraging to see that even when the funding programs, so for example, the donor-funded programs, when they pull out a call for proposal, and they try to be deliberate in terms of, recruiting 50% of women innovators or women startups, they do not reach that number. And we are yet to get the data. And we did even see Dr. Nkundwe gave us, sorry, but I have to call him out on that, but he gave us data from 2016, he gave us data from whatever, so we don't have data. That's the other challenge that we're facing in the industry or in the ecosystem right now. How many women startups do we have in Tanzania? How many women in ICT, do we have in Tanzania? How many women digital solutions do we have in Tanzania? All this data could actually be factored into improving the ecosystem and what we see as a promising future ahead. I would like to yield the mic now.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that great opener. So sandboxes, I think I'm going to come later in terms of the different studies you've done and possible recommendations. But funding, data is king. Data is king. Dr. Lilian Talemwa, aka Jina Mwenza, wa Jina. So, you brought us in terms of the program that you're working on right now, inclusivity, right? So I would like to hear more from you. I think that's one of the things when we're talking about emerging technologies and we are designing apps and we're designing solutions, etc. I don't think we are as inclusive as we should be. So maybe can you talk us through what are some of the things that your current program is doing and to actually bridge that digital divide when it comes to ensuring that every person actually has access?
Thank you, Wajina. Yes, so the Open University of Tanzania is very much committed in making sure that when we talk about digital transformation and inclusiveness, we don't leave behind those with disabilities. The gap is still large. We have a big gap, and every time we get to interact with people and communicate with people and say that we are training blind people to use computer, to use smartphones. Many people are like, what? How is that possible? This shows that there is a big gap between what those with disabilities are doing with ICT and those without, with the disabilities. Maybe I can share a very short story to show you how big the gap is. So earlier this year, we decided that maybe we should use social media to market the program that we are doing, training people with disabilities to use ICT. And so we created a poster and we distributed it to, we used social media, and my phone number was there. You know, if you want to know more, you can contact Dr. Lillian for more information. And many people were calling to ask about the service. But the first question that people were asking is this real? You know, we think it's a fraud, or somebody just made this post for other reasons. We do not believe it. That was the first question from many people. Like, how can a blind person use a computer? How is that possible? And I was just responding to them that it's very possible. And it is actually happening here at our unit. So we have programs that we are, the main focus of our work is to bridge the gap, the digital divide, so that maybe slowly, but somehow we will get there, you know, like have blind people also getting involved, where you will be seeing ICT professionals meeting and discussing issues, and also people with disabilities will be there. You will be having blind people, deaf people, and just in this conference, I came with some of my students and some of the tutors, and maybe I can ask them to stand up so you can see the ICT professionals who have disabilities. Niliokuja nao, wanafunzi na walimu. These are just representatives. We could not bring all of them. But you can see on my left, the two on my left are deaf. So we have a sign language interpreter there, translating and interpreting everything that we are saying here. And the three are blind. They cannot see. But they are very good ICT professionals. We have trained them, and they are using computers, smartphone, tablets, and so many other assistive technologies. And they are even searching for information on the internet, you know. Maybe one day, actually I communicate with them using emails and WhatsApp, you know, like tomorrow, can you train this to the students using email, using WhatsApp? We have a WhatsApp group that we are using to communicate. And to many people, this is still strange. Many people still don't believe that this is happening, but it is happening.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Lillian. I think, you know, we have ICT professionals, but then also just for those in the area of designing these technologies, a reminder that how are you making sure that those who are interacting with your technology are also not divided. Somebody who cannot see can actually hear. Somebody who cannot hear has other, you know, things that they can actually interact with. So thank you about that and what you're doing. And I'll come back to you with some extra follow-up questions. But yeah, Esther, I like the fact that you were on this same stage 7 years ago. 7 years ago, and now here you are. You're in a field that is looked at as male-dominated. You know, Dr. Nkundo shared with us matrix, and we're seeing that in terms of data, is it either 22 or 28% of women who are
makes me participate fully in my career without saying, oh, no, you don't need to attend to such conferences. Why do you have to travel so much? Why is this so important? Why don't you sit at home and look after the 4 babies? So most of the women start in tech but don't end in tech. Why? Because you might find by the time they go to become officers or they start their jobs, they're not married, they don't have kids, so it becomes easier. So after they are married and after they start having kids, there's that change in dynamics. One, the office stops giving that lady more opportunities, or after taking a break from the career and coming back, the ladies feel left out. So they opt on other options, maybe kufungua duka, kufungua saluni, and divert from the tech industry. So the second question was, so as a female cybersecurity expert, one, I would like to see more like me. That's my goal. I want to see more cybersecurity experts. And I want cybersecurity to be one of the subjects that we speak openly. Because you'll find in most of these digital transformation conferences, workshops, people skip cybersecurity because they don't understand it. It's not like it's not crucial, it is crucial. Now that you want everybody to be connected, talking to everybody, we have different devices. People need to know how to stay safe in those platforms, how to safely use their devices. Teenagers, youngsters are supposed to be taught on how to be safe in those platforms, because social media is the only platform where a 13-year-old and a 70-year-old interact unregulated. So how do they keep themselves safe? So now, yes, we are saying digital economy, we want to do this and do that, but how are we keeping our people safe? So I would like to encourage our young girls over here that there is a field called cybersecurity, and it's an interesting one. Don't be scared to pursue it because you love it, I promise.
Thank you. A hands of applause. And it's in actually, I think it's in seeing possible role models that you can look up to. So the fact that you have Esther and there's so many others, I truly do suggest, going through Shiro's, the books, and you're seeing different women who are doing different amazing things across the board. Carol, I'm coming back to you. And I did mention I was going to come back. I like the fact that, Esther spoke about the social dynamics that we do not look at when you're looking at women and ICT, and the fact that the people that actually trust you or give you that confidence, from being at home, your husband, your father, your mother, to the environment in terms of at workplaces. I want to switch, and I know you write a lot. I do read your articles.
I try.
Yes, you try. I want to switch into the aspect of policies. And why policies? Specifically, you did mention, towards your first question in terms of data that is available and some of the studies that you have been doing as part. So when we look at the larger scale, we might talk all we can, but what are the actionable things that could be done that we can say we have an enabling environment? So what policy recommendation, could be one, just, or two, do you have to the government in order to promote inclusivity in the tech industry as relates to women specifically?
Thank you so much, Lillian. First, I'd like to commend the ICT Commission and the Ministry, of course, for working finally on the ICT Policy 2016, because to be honest, for some of us in the ecosystem, it was quite frustrating that we had a policy that was not really reflecting the current times, not even to mention, the emerging technologies that are coming out right now. So when the newly drafted ICT policy came out, as an organization, the first thing that we did was go through it, and we're like, no, it's still not speaking to women's digital inclusion. Because first of all, the 2016 one, as much as it had sort of like a section on gender and implementation strategies on reaching to they call them minority groups, yeah? But they didn't mention anywhere the word women. So that itself was a danger because the issue of gender was being looked at from what we call like a general overview and not necessarily taking into consideration the specific context that comes with example with women's digital inclusion, with youth's digital inclusion. So the first thing that we did was try to see what was working in terms of the work that we were doing and see now what the direction was when it came to the digital transformation in Tanzania, but also taking into consideration where the women are right now. One of the policy recommendations that we specifically outlined in our recommendations to the ministry, which have been accepted, so we thank them very much, was how they can bring on board or be deliberate on, for example, women's inclusion in the digital economy, taking into account AFCFTA. So digital skills for women, be deliberate in terms of what we're going to do when it comes to e-commerce. How are we onboarding people onto the e-commerce platforms, but also how are we reaching different diverse groups? And I'll tell you why that is very important. When we did the Women in Tech ICT conference in March, we had like a whole room full of women in ICT and across the tech industry. However, we were somehow excluding the larger group of women who were outside and wanting to learn about what was going on in the digital economy, how can they get on board, whatever. So even in the policy, what we did try to suggest is to have different kind of interventions that would be reaching to different diverse groups, because karo wa Dar es Salaam sio karo wa Tandahimba, sio karo wa Rumeru. So as the government and as the ministry, they need to be cognizant of the fact that the limitations and barriers that I face as a woman, we call them woman A, B, and C. As a woman C in Dar es Salaam is not the same as woman A in rural Sumbawanga. As long as woman A is still, look at me code switching, I hope that's not a problem, yeah? But looking at woman A and how now she is a big player in, for example, agriculture, and how she can be, onboarded into the digital economy in a way that whatever trader in South Africa or Nigeria can actually, get to her and trade with her. So what we have recommended in terms of policy is for them to be more deliberate, to have clear implementation strategies and objectives as well as actionable items. Because what we felt was lacking in the first draft was, it was very, again, for lack of a better phrase, very general. It wasn't really giving us like a roadmap on how exactly we're going to arrive, for example, at I know the ministry is singing about, reaching 85% connectivity across the country by year 2025. But how exactly are we going to get there? That was not quite clear in terms of the roadmap, especially considering, digital skills, digital literacy, but even looking at the infrastructure. Dr. Nkundwes mentioned something about, digital usage and access. So you look at, for example, data affordability right now, and how now that is an impeding factor for women to get online, but even when they get online, to stay online. Because you can get online, but you can't stay online, and in the end, that's not meaningful connectivity. So, yeah, there are a couple of things that we have suggested, but in terms of being deliberate, they need to have really actionable items to say, this is how we're going to do it. And to say the truth, they do have the resources. If you look at the Digital Tanzania project that's supported by the World Bank, it's quite succinct, but it's quite clear in terms of what they want to achieve, how they're going to reach women. Now it comes to how we're going to translate whatever that we put on paper to actually, actionable items on the ground.
Right. Thank you so much for that. So, clear implementation strategy, specification. Let's bring it down. Let's not have 8 or so. Like, what's that 1, 2, 3, and like a clear roadmap that takes us there. All right, Dr. Lillian. So I'm going to do the last round of questions, and then we're going to do the last. This is the second last round of questions. But Dr. Lillian, do you have any? I mean, you spoke about digital divide and some of the programs that are run at Open University of Tanzania, but for the specification of trying to understand what are some of other nations or other countries doing. Can you share with us, some examples or some experiences of what is being done in other countries within the space of bridging digital divide when it comes to emerging technologies?
Yes, actually, that reminds me, a few months ago, I went to a conference, it's called Inclusive Africa Conference. And at that conference, there were many officials from different parts of the world coming there, and we were just discussing two things: people with disability and digital assistive technologies. For 3 days, those were the two things that we were discussing there. And we were lucky enough to have big tech companies, including Google and Microsoft. And they were there presenting what solutions they have for people with disabilities to make sure that, as we say, we are on the digital transformation phase, and we are moving towards digital economy in African countries. We do not leave behind these people with disabilities. So it was an opportunity to get to learn what other countries are doing. And actually there were about 6 innovations there that were made in African countries. There was a wheelchair that is powered by solar, and there were other innovations that used AI, for example, for the deaf. In the deaf community, many times when a parent is deaf, they tend to let their children be the interpreter. Like when they want to communicate with someone, they will have their children there to try to, explain what the parent is saying. Now imagine if you are the parent and you are sick, when you're sick, sometimes it's something private, and you have to go to the doctor, and someone to communicate what is wrong with you is your child. How would that feel? So this was one of the challenges that was presented there. Like for deaf people, they always have to be with an interpreter to help them communicate with other people. And sometimes things are personal, things are private. How do you solve a challenge like that? So many countries were trying to see how they can address that challenge using AI. So, for example, there was one institution that came with an innovation that you do not need an interpreter. You can just talk to the phone, and then the phone will use AI solutions, and it will be able to, do the two-way conversation. So that was very good, actually. The deaf community liked it very much. But something that was not very nice is that from Tanzania, it was just me at the conference, You have Microsoft, you have Google CEOs there discussing issues and, like how we can be more inclusive, how we can use technologies to make sure that we all go together, Anybody can get a disability at some point, But if we are not prepared, it means even for ourselves, we are not prepared, Maybe sometime you might get an accident and then you cannot see anymore. And you had a chance to do something about it, So these were the kind of discussions that were going on there, and there were many innovations, and many were interesting. Yes, and hopefully maybe in the coming conferences, more participants will be going there from Tanzania, and maybe together we can think about an innovation, maybe from Tanzania also, because Kenya had their own, Botswana had their own, Nigeria had their own, so I came back home and I was like, I have to find somewhere where I can say this. And, maybe someone will hear me and they'll think about it too, Yes.
That is Dr. Lillian saying, anybody out there who's listening, we need to make sure that we have innovators who are going, but then also in terms of the support that comes along. Thank you so much for sharing your insights there, but more so what can be done in order to continue bridging that digital divide gap. Esther, when we started the discussion with you, you kind of started deep diving into something that I wanted to really now get your perspective with regards to cybersecurity, data, innovation. From your perspective, when you look at Tanzania, what are some key cybersecurity challenges that you see? Maybe if you can help us in breaking down top 3 that you're seeing, and much more important than that is, how can we go about combating that? As specifically, we are in that digitalization. We are all going through that journey. Tunaenda wote, ndio tunaenda. Sasa tunafanyaje kuweza kuensure kwamba, we are cognizant and we're putting in place the right mitigations.
And if I was able to speak in capital letters, I would have spoken this in capital letters. One is the Cybersecurity Act of 2015. We need to amend our Cybersecurity Act. It's way overdue. There are so many things that have changed from 2015 to now, so many new policies that need to be included. There are so many things that need to be changed. So if the one thing that I would ask and kindly ask from the government is to amend the Cybersecurity Act, yeah? So to be in line with all the other strategies that are current in the country. Because we're speaking of digital transformation, we're speaking of a digital economy, and we're still relying on a Cybersecurity Act of 2015. So my appeal to the government is we amend the Cybersecurity Act. Number 2 will be, I wouldn't say equality. I would like to call it equal access, yeah? Both ladies and men, we all want a seat at the table. Seat to discuss matters that are dear to our country. One of the issues would be cybersecurity. So I'm not saying that you favor us women, but I'm saying you give us the equal opportunity that you give to men. And let us prove ourselves, yeah? And cybersecurity is broad and sounds scary. So the first thing we'll need to tackle is to educate people on the basic ICT skills. It could start from primary school level, even nursery level. They need to see what a computer looks like. They need to interact with it more often for them to want to pursue that career. You might find that most people came across IT or digital devices when they're in college, yeah, or when they're in high school. But there are people in villages, if they are given access or if they are shown what a computer looked like, what a device with internet looked like, maybe they would have pursued a career in tech, yeah? So we have a role to play in making sure that digital skills becomes one of the top learned subject from an early stage level. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Esther. And in closing us off, I think I'm going to ask this question to everybody, and Esther, you'll start off. I want it to be practical. So holding you accountable in front of all of these guys, what are the things that you can commit in doing within the space of emerging technologies? So yes, you have raised it to the government in terms of educating on basic ICT skills, definitely equal access, having a seat on the table, not because we're just given, because we're good at what we do and just to have that particular seat, as well as a request for a review of the Cybersecurity Act. But in your own capacity as Esther, as in your environment, what's that one thing that you can commit in doing in order to say that more women or more girls can actually have access in the space of cybersecurity in your space?
Thank you, and you have asked that question at a very right time. So part of the thing that we do as a company, we offer trainings, different trainings, cybersecurity trainings, and general IT trainings. So now we have come up with a program whereby we train women and SMEs on digital security and digital safety. So the program is free to attend. We're going to have...
Guys, are you listening? Free to attend.
It's free to attend, and we're going to have it from 23rd to 26th at 4 points. So I would love to see more youth and more women attend and know how can they stay safe online. What does it mean? What does data privacy mean? And if they're aware of the new Data Protection Act and how does it involve them. So it would be really nice to see young women and youth being educated on their safety and security.
Where can they apply registration and everything? Quick one.
So there's a link. I think I'll share with it later, then it can be put there.
Okay, whoever's in charge, we're going to share a link and we'd like it to be put maybe during lunchtime so that people can actually register for that one. Dr. Lillian, over to you. What is that one thing you're going to hold yourself accountable in ensuring that in your space it's about inclusivity in general, but yeah, so inclusivity in the space of bridging the digital divide?
Yeah, maybe can I answer this one in Swahili?
Ndiyo, karibu.
Nataka the young girls wanisikie vizuri. Wanasema Kiingereza kilikuja na meli.
Ilikuja na meli. Tunajitahidi sasa hivi kuongea nacho.
Yes, kwa hiyo sisi pale kwenye unit yetu ambako tunatoa training zinaendelea, na kitu kizuri zaidi ni kwamba it is free. Yani hitaji unalo au tuseme kigezo tunachokitumia kwa mtu kujoin training yetu ni kwamba awe na disability. If you have a disability, you are allowed to come and attend the training free of charge. Kwa hiyo tutaendelea na hiyo ili kuhakikisha kwamba wengi wenye changamoto hizi. Cha kusikitisha ni kwamba wakati mara nyingi tunakutana nao na wengi wanakuwa wametokea kwenye familia duni. Unakuta wale wenye disabilities labda wakati mwingine hawawezi kuwa na funding ya kuweza kumlipia labda akae boarding mahali, au ni kwa sababu sisi tu training yetu tunaitoa bure, lakini hatuna boarding, hatuna majengo ya kuwaweka na nini. Na pia wakati wa kusafiri ni unakuta mtu mwingine anatokea mbali kweli kweli, alafu ni mtu asiyeona. Fikiria usafiri wetu ulivyo hapa Dar es Salaam, alafu unamwambia mtu atoke Bunju, atoke Tegeta, atoke Kibaha, ni mtu asiyeona, aje kuattend training pale kila siku ili aweze kuelewa vizuri, attendance iwe nzuri. Kwa hiyo unakuta tunakutana na challenges nyingi, na sisi tunajaribu pia kushirikiana, kuwashirikisha serikali na nini tupate support. Lakini pia labda tutajitahidi zaidi kuonyesha kwamba kuna umuhimu wa kufanya collaborations zaidi na makampuni mengine makubwa ambayo yako tayari kusaidia. Kwa kweli tunaona kwamba yapo makampuni makubwa kama Google, kama Microsoft wako tayari kusaidia vijana wa Kiafrika kuweza kujikwamua kiuchumi, pia hata kiuchumi, digital economy kwa wale wenye ulemavu. Kwa hiyo sisi tutaendelea kuongeza nguvu kwenye kuweka awareness ya hayo mambo na kushirikiana na serikali ili tuweze kuwezesha program yetu hii.
Asante Dr. Lillian. And last but not least, Carol, what
Thank
are you tasking yourself?
Allow me to answer this twofold. So first, as an individual, I commit to continue amplifying and telling the stories of women. Is something that I've been doing since 2017. We did a documentary on women in technology in Tanzania that was released in March. We did another short video, sort of like a mini documentary in 2018 as well, doing the same. We're looking forward to doing another one next year, but also we have this really nice sort of like YouTube limited series called Wanawake na Digitali, Tanzania Women Digital Slayers. And what we do is basically we feature women who are thriving in digital spaces so that other people can also learn. But as an organization, we stay committed to pushing for more capacity building programs. So Digital Skills, we run a Digital Tanzania program that trains women. Every 3 months, we take in 36 women who come in and take courses in coding, digital marketing, content creation, as well as UX and UI design, but also recognizing that we need more women in those spaces as well. But also advocacy and awareness that could actually, address the issues of mindset change, but as well as representation of women in these particular sectors. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. A hand of applause to my amazing panel. Hapana, kwa kweli sikubali. A hand of applause. Naomba tupige makofi yanayoeleweka. Ongeza. Sawa, to my amazing panel. Asanteni sana. We can have our seats.
Haya, na mimi naomba makofi kwa moderator dada Lili kwa kazi nzuri, Lilian Sechelela Madeje kwa kazi nzuri aliyofanya. Thank you very much Lili for the good moderation. Next now, nimeambiwa hapa kwanza kuna watu wanaogopa hata kuchangia kutoka kwenye public. I'm told the rest of us are feared to speak because maybe English could be challenging. I doubt whether that is the reason, but I'm sure the next session na sisi tutashiriki pia ambao tumekaa huku. Now I have the honor I'm the honor to invite an inspirational talk, Woman as a Leader in Global Startup Landscape. And we'll have two speakers in which I have Elias Patrick who will moderate this session. If I may invite Elias Patrick, please, to do the honors of inviting the speakers to speak, and we have half an hour, so kindly let's